So love to hear a little bit about what was revealed for you in this conversation. Like, what did you notice? What did you learn? What did you come up with?
Yeah, I'd say, is this this is Greg Collins.
Yeah.
How are you, Rick?
Good, Craig.
There's the inter links between a lot of these. There's so much overlap that I found too.
Yeah.
It's like you start digging into one and you know that they're so interrelated to another. It's like not quite like whack-a-mole, but you get the idea.
Like you start talking about one square and it kind of goes to another one organically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody in a workshop, this is a live workshop. It used to be a live workshop in a room, and this bigger game board is on the floor. We walk around and somebody said, "Oh, this is like giant Twister." Right? It starts out as tic-tac-toe, but then it becomes right. Twister, right?
Yeah.
Other insights from the conversation. Like, anything new that you came up with for yourself? I know, Etta, you and I had a pretty interesting conversation. Would you be willing to share what you came up with?
Expected that anything that I had to say wouldn't go anywhere, and I really did because I said that where I was at was a combination of the hunger square and the gulp. Like, this is what I want to do, but I just don't know how I can possibly do this. And just saying it made it possible to have a conversation that, oh yes, you can. There's a way to do this, and I really appreciated that very much. That was very helpful.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Etta, for that, because you're making a beautiful learning point for all of us. I'm inviting you into this perspective because of this very simple model. We never get to say we're stuck again. We get to be confused, we get to be a little overwhelmed, but stuck is not an option.
Yeah.
Because when you're somewhere on this model, this is the philosophy, and Etta, you were a great example of this. When you know where you are, when you start somewhere, it opens up the creative mind to go somewhere else. Like, oh, I'm hungry for something. I don't know what it is. What do I need to do? Well, I need to talk to somebody to talk more about what I'm really hungry for. And then, by the way, I need to take a bold action and go look up some research on Google and find out some stuff, right? And then I need to call a friend, and then I need to start a Zoom class for this thing that I want to go do and try it, and see if it works or not. I mean, you see how it. So it one of the things that I love about this is that we don't get to say we're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
We can say stuck is a comfort zone. And one comfort zone that I want to name that's happening out there a lot in my world, and I'm hearing it a lot from people, is overwhelm. People are overwhelmed. I understand why. They're trying to manage their lives, get their kids to school. They can't go to the grocery store like they used to. They have to wear a mask. Like, we all have got this, right? But I'm always reminding people, you get to choose how to be in this new world. Don't let the new world design you. You get to design the new world with the new circumstance. We get to decide how we want to respond to this. Adrienne, you have your hand up.
Yes, I liked what you said about fear and excitement creating the same chemical reaction, because I am fear-based and actually came up with a system that I need to get back to, and that when I make lists every day, and if something was on my list 3 days in a row, I would sit down and ask myself the question, it's been on your list for 3 days. What are you afraid of?
Yeah.
And then I would write down what I was afraid of. And interestingly enough, putting it on paper took it out of my head.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I was able to then get up and go do that thing that I hadn't done for 3 days.
Right.
So
beautifully said. Because fear is an inside job, right? Fears, by the way, we all know, most of us have a great relationship with fear, right? It's right there. Like, oh my God, what happens if, right? We're all most humans are there, right? It's going to fall apart any second. Oh my God, the whole thing's going to unravel, right? And of course, we have to be the ones to say, wait a minute, I want to have a better relationship with you, fear, because I know you're there. So Adrian, you're a great example of a big distinction I make for people is rather than I am fear, is what's my relationship with my fear? Because I get to have a relationship with my fear because it's there. And Adrian, you gave a great example of a tactic to do called write stuff down, because as soon as I take it out of my head, it loses its power. It's sort of like, well, there it is on a piece of paper. And then I get to be at choice with it. They've done studies, and I'm not a scientist, but many of you probably know this. The brain is mostly wired to be in reaction to scary stuff, right? The amygdala part of the brain, fight, flight, or freeze. You've heard those terms, right? Because years and years, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, humans had to there's something coming at me. I got to run, I got to freeze, or I got to fight it, right? So that still lives in the brain these days. So the chemicals that are released are mostly from the fear space. So welcome to the club, Adrian. There's, what I mean by that is welcome and normalize the fear that we have, right? And how do I be with it? What do I do with it is the question. Other thoughts? Yeah, Kirk.
You need printer paper?
I would say
it's okay. No problem. Go ahead, Kirk.
Years ago, as a teenager, I took years of ballroom dance lessons at the roller rink. I also took some freestyle, and I had almost all my singles.
Yeah.
And you don't learn to do jumps on skates without learning to fall safe.
Yes.
So I'm not afraid of that. And in fact, in my early 60s, about 10 years ago, I was walking into Fayetteville. I misjudged the height of a sidewalk, and I tripped and fell full length onto a concrete sidewalk. And it stung my wrists and elbows. But other than that, no problem. 20 minutes later, I was fine. So I highly encourage people not to be afraid of taking the fall.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that beautiful thing, Kirk, you're pointing to is the ability to be with failure. Right. And the greatest organizations and the greatest teams that I worked with, and the greatest is the wrong word, sort of the most successful teams, organizations, and leaders and individuals have the greatest relationship with failure. They have a very healthy relationship with failure.
It's so much more educational than success.
Correct. We learn from the failure more than we learn from the success. And we're so success sort of addictive, right? This must work instead of let me try stuff. Right.